Ladies and gentlemen, I'm RJ Eskow, and you are listening to Take Action News. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot to talk about today, but before we do, I want to start with something of an announcement. As you may or may not know, the name of this program, Take Action News, was given to it by its first host, David Schuster, who is a fine journalist and a wonderful human being, and we wish him the very best in his new position at Al Jazeera. It was taken over by Carl Frisch, whose name is still on the promo, but we are now taking the program in a slightly different direction. We believe in action. We love action. The only thing we love to hear more than those presidents in the opening segment who are talking about action is presidents actually taking action. So believe me, we're all about the action, and that won't change. But here's what will change about this program: the name. Those of you who have been listening over the last several weeks since we took over know that we've been looking for a new name. We crowdsourced. We went out to you for new name suggestions, and we racked our own brains. We brainstormed here at We Act Radio. Family members, everybody got involved in the act. So I'm here to announce we have a new name for Take Action News. But before I give you that name, let me tell you a little bit about the process we went through. The crowdsourcing came back with some very good suggestions. They said, well, really, what's the theme of your show about? Let's think of some names around the theme. So, okay, excellent point. One of the things we're talking about here and will be talking about is the urgency of the need for action as historical events accelerate, as climate change accelerates, as money increasingly captures the political process, potentially to a point of irreversibility. We'll be talking about technology and its impact on society, including potentially changes in the way we evolve as human beings. We'll be talking about the urgency of creating a society that's fair for everyone as we move into these periods of perilous medical, clinical, scientific, and environmental changes. So we got a lot of suggestions back. As it might not surprise you to learn, many of those suggestions were, well, for lack of a better word, flippant. I will also say that many of those suggestions involved the use of obscenities and four-letter words, not directed at us, but nevertheless totally inappropriate for a show which is broadcast over the public airwaves. So all of you who submitted profane, pornographic, and or obscene names, please accept this sentiment from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for nothing, because you knew we couldn't use them. I will make one exception, because one unprintable name and unspeakable name, which involved that four-syllable word for incest that is sometimes shortened to mofo. We were very fond of that one. Mofo's gots to learn, but there are problems with that too. Number one, it could be seen as condescending towards speakers of dialectical English. Number two, who are we to teach anybody? It implies that if other people have to learn, we're the ones to teach them, and we don't want to ever adopt that tone of arrogance, which is so typical in the broadcast world. We don't know everything for sure. Here, we know some things, we want to share them, but we also want to hear from you. So and lastly, of course, the name is absolutely unthinkable. If the FCC had prison cells or holding cells, we'd wind up in one if we use that full name. So that was discarded, and it got so that I was also using an email list of friends and trying to brainstorm with them, and we were getting nowhere. We had nothing. So finally, I wrote to my list of friends and said, time's up. We need a name. It's the 0 Hour. And then it occurred to me, as if by magic, the 0 Hour. So I threw that out to some of our friends and our listeners, and it got a very positive reaction. So the new name of the program is The 0 Hour with RJ Eskow, and we'll be changing our promotional materials, creating a website around that, and so on. So you'll be hearing more about the name The 0 Hour. Why The 0 Hour? Because that name, that phrase, well, it originated in the military, but what it meant was when everybody synchronized their clocks and counted down, at the moment you went to 0, you went into action. That was meaning number one. Meaning number two of 0 Hour is the meaning I used in my email. The 0 Hour is, hey, time's up. We got to make a decision. We got to act now. And by the way, Act Now is another name for the show, potential name that we liked a lot. Act Now, it was suggested because it had an internal rhyme, Act Now with R.J. Eskow. So we thought about that too, but 0 Hour says Act Now, and we need to act now. So you'll be hearing that from us a lot. We'll be changing all our materials. We'll be creating new promos, but basically on the climate, on political corruption, on corporate greed, on unfettered global trade leading to the crushing of the middle class worldwide. We've reached the 0 Hour. So that's our program. That's our theme. That's what we'll be going with. Our guests today will highlight that theme in their own ways. We'll be talking. Well, we'll be talking about everything from our daily lives to the grand sweep of the future. So, for example, we've just had the Super Bowl. We'll be talking about NFL tax dodging in our first segment. By the time we reach our last two segments, we'll be talking about the existence of a potentially habitable planet, even what they call a super habitable planet, right here near to planet Earth in the Alpha Centauri star system. So believe me, we're going to go from football to the depths of space, from the sublime to the ridiculous. But most of all, we're going to be reminding you that it's the time to act, that it's 0 Hour. Time is up. So we want you to bear with us through the name change. We want you to be part of the 0 Hour community. We want you to become regular listeners. We're going to do whatever we can to make the show interesting and engaging so that you will be. As I say, stick around. Besides the two shows I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the new trade deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. We're going to be talking about, in the words of one author, why it sucks to be poor in this country and why it's expensive to be poor. We're going to be talking about the state of events in West Virginia, and we're going to be talking about a march across New Hampshire to restore democracy. So we have a lot to talk about in the upcoming 3 hours. We have a lot to talk about and discover together here on this program. And I'm going to say now, for the first time, the tagline that you'll be hearing over and over from us as we evolve together on this program. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm R.J. Eskow, and this is the 0 Hour. We'll be right back.